Hey, what's up, you guys? My name is Grace Taylor, and welcome to the Trauma Dump Podcast. Yeah, we made it! Episode 1. Oh my goodness, you have no idea how long I have been making this podcast. It's been well over a year. This project has been my heart and soul. And hey, it's finally coming to fruition. I'm so relieved. You have no idea. Oh my goodness. But hey, welcome. I'm Grace Lauren Taylor. I'm going to be your host. And dude, I don't even know what to say. It's our first episode. But hey, let's start off with, what is this podcast about? Okay, short story. Let's keep it brief, spicy, and sweet. I have gone through trauma. I have been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder and bipolar disorder and CPTSD, which is complex trauma, and a whole array of other things that are just like, labels. And I have been in therapy for like 3 years continually. And, therapy is great and all, but I think the basis for healing should be community. This podcast seeks to bridge that gap between your healing journey and another's, to connect us through community and share what we're going through and build healthier, more stable communication with not just others, but within ourselves. I think something that should be said about trauma is it separates us from ourselves. It really does. It makes us hate ourselves. It makes us resent ourselves for going through hard times and needing help. It literally hurts our bodies. Continual stress can actually make you extremely unhealthy. So we have adrenal glands, and they're right by your pelvis bone. And those are right on top of your kidneys. And when we are flooded with cortisol, which is our stress hormone, continually, when you have high anxiety, that's continuous, it's not coming off, you can gain weight really quickly. You can get sick really quickly. And it just ruins your life. And that's why healing from trauma is so important. And that's what this podcast is about. It's to end the stigma against people that are traumatized are less than. That's not true. People that are traumatized need help, need understanding, need compassion, need grace. And so that's why I have this podcast, because when I was going through really tough times and I was afraid to share what I was going through, I was like, why don't we have an anonymous space to talk about what we're going through? So I made it. We have a Discord server, and it's been up and running for almost 2 years now, and we have like 100-something people on there that share what they're going through, and it's a community. We give resources to each other, support, and it's beautiful. And I am so glad that so many people from all over the world are on that Discord and feel safe enough to anonymously share their challenges. It's really a relief for me that even before this podcast is live, we created a safe space to even share like funny things that we're going through and memes and have a Minecraft server. And it gives me so much more hope for my generation and for the generations to come, that we can have more compassion and understanding for each other when we're going through difficult times. Trauma is defined by an injury, whether it's mental or physical, that even after it should be healed, even after the process has happened of, okay, this is fixed now, it's not fixed, right? When we think of trauma, you think of people that have gone through war and get flashbacks of the horrible things that have happened in their past, or people that have had severe injuries and do not want to go through the same circumstances, like a car accident. They don't want to get in the car. They don't want to go back into the ocean because they got stung or they got bit, and they're protecting themselves. Protecting yourself is good, but when it comes to isolating yourself and preventing new experiences from occurring, that's when it becomes detrimental to our health and to our social well-being. I started this podcast for the sheer purpose of building community, and so many people that have gone through trauma have been neglected and abused. Even from just speaking about the horrible things that they've gone through, they're judged, they're cast aside. One of the worst things that someone has ever said to me when I was discussing how sad I was about my father's death, they said, everybody else has their problems and your problems are not that big compared to mine. And we compare our issues. And another person told me, they're like, everyone else has their problems, Grace. And I was like, yes, I know. I know everybody else has their problems. They're like, so what? Why do you complain? And I wasn't complaining. I was grieving. So many people misconstrued grief as complaint. When I think of complaining, I think of griping about an issue that is well within your control that you refuse to control. That's what I think about when complaining. I don't think of complaining as addressing something that you can't control, that is without your voice, that you can't do anything about, and you need help. Bringing awareness to a situation is not complaining. On this podcast, I want to bring awareness to struggle. It's not to glorify the struggle, but to help work through the struggle together. And I don't think that there are many spaces that do that. I think there are a lot of spaces that people talk about the difficult things they go through, but they don't talk about solutions. They don't talk about how to get better. Now, I do want to say I am not a licensed health professional. Okay? I do not have any of my degrees in mental health, but I have gone through a lot, and I would love to discuss it in later episodes. I just want others to feel safe when sharing what they've gone through. It's important because if we bottle it all in, if we ignore it, it'll get worse. And I know that firsthand. You will hurt yourself because all the hurt is inside and you want to get that hurt out. And so you hurt yourself, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, saying that I'm worthless, I'm stupid. Of course, I'm going through bad things. I deserve it, which you don't. Nobody deserves trauma. Nobody deserves these hard things. I want to transmute that pain that I felt into purpose. I want to reach out in any way that I can, and this is one of the ways that I can to share that you're not alone. Whether you've gone through severe childhood trauma, severe domestic violence, you're not alone. I wanted to create a safe space where we can share, we can learn, and we can grow. And that is what this podcast is. This is the Trauma Dump Podcast, and I am so relieved that I'm on this journey and you are listening. I hope that you can be on this journey with me. And if you want to be a participant in the podcast, if you want me to interview you and we center a whole episode around your specific area of trauma, please leave a comment in our Discord. We have a channel called Podcast Participants where you can say how you wish to be identified. You don't have to share your actual identity, right? You can have a pseudonym and talk about the things that you've gone through. Here at the Trauma Dump Podcast, we seek to answer the question, what is mental health? And how do I take care of my own? And then, by extension, how do I support others? Every week, we will be discussing different topics. And every other week, I'll be interviewing a guest. I can't wait to hear about your unique experiences and be able to share mine as well. I do have to mention that this podcast is for a mature audience, okay? I can't give it a rating of PG-13 or R or anything like that, but I do have to caution you that when we discuss these topics, you can get triggered, right? I really am at a loss for words when it comes to the situation with Colleen Ballinger, and I really would like to avoid any of those circumstances, and that's one of the main reasons why this podcast is anonymous. Even children go through severe trauma, and I don't necessarily want to create a space for children to talk about their trauma, but I do want to create a space for everyone to discuss what they've gone through and seek help. Oftentimes, when we are in the depths of despair, we will feel judged even if we're not being judged. We will have frustrations and not be able to vent them. And oftentimes, we're afraid of even sharing what we're going through because we think we'll be a burden. And that breaks my heart. So here, I don't want anyone to suffer alone or to suffer in silence. I don't want the pain to eat away at you or me with no hope for it to get better. So this podcast, the Trauma Dump Podcast, is a place where anyone can anonymously share their burdens without fear of being judged or ridiculed, where we can build community to share our burdens and lift one another up. In the podcast, I will be sharing resources like free therapy and resources on how to heal from various different traumas. I'm also going to give advice. Whether you take it or not is up to you. I want us to all heal together and build a better future for ourselves. I am so glad to have you part of this. Thank you for listening. I pray that you guys share this with your friends and family, and I can't wait to see you in the next episode. I'd like you to know that you are capable of a fulfilling life in spite of your circumstances and your trauma. Our creed is that may you rise again from the ashes and be filled with peace, love, joy, and understanding. Thank you again so much for listening. I'll see you later. This podcast is produced, written, and recorded by Grace Lauren Taylor. Special thanks goes out to Joey, my partner, Anna, Carly, and Martha, my best friends, and everybody in the Discord server, especially the helpers. Thank you guys so much for your love, your support, and your continual patience with me as I make this podcast. I hope you guys all like it, and here's to many more episodes.